The bedroom door had a lock on the outside. I only noticed because I heard it click while I was still inside, half awake, staring at the strip of light under the door. Then someone on the other side tested the handle once, slowly, like they were making sure I couldn't get out. I was 26, driving alone from Atlanta to Nashville for a weekend friend's wedding, and I'd booked a cheap Airbnb outside Chattanooga to break up the trip. The listing looked normal: rustic guest house, private entrance, great reviews, quiet wooded property. The host, a guy named Daniel, messaged fast, used full sentences, seemed polite. He even told me I could check in late because he'd leave the key in a lockbox near the porch. By the time I got there, it was almost 10 p.m. The place sat behind a much bigger main house at the end of a gravel driveway, tucked near the trees. Not creepy exactly, just isolated. One of those places that feels peaceful during the day and a little too far from everything at night. Daniel came out when he heard my car. Mid-40s, calm voice, jeans, work boots. Friendly enough. He apologized for the weak Wi-Fi, said the guest house was old but clean, and mentioned the bedroom door stuck sometimes because of the humidity. That detail stayed with me later. Inside, the place looked like the photos. Small living room, kitchenette, bathroom, one bedroom. Everything was neat, almost staged. There was even a binder on the table with house rules and local recommendations. I should have relaxed, but there were little things that felt off right away. The air inside smelled faintly like bleach, underneath something older and damp. Not strong, just enough to notice. And when I set my bag down in the bedroom, I saw there was no lock on the bedroom door from the inside. Only a deadbolt plate on the outer frame. At the time, I told myself it probably used to be installed differently. I wish I'd left then. I texted my friend that I'd made it, plugged in my phone, and took a quick shower. The bathroom window was frosted over, but I still checked it twice. That wasn't normal for me. I'm not a paranoid person. I stay in hotels alone all the time. But something about that guest house made every sound feel separate. The hum of the mini fridge, the pipes ticking in the wall, branches scraping somewhere outside. At around 10:40, while I was in bed scrolling on my phone, I heard footsteps on the gravel, slow, measured, circling the outside of the guest house. I froze and listened. They stopped near the window beside the bed. Then nothing. I told myself it was Daniel checking the property. Maybe he had a dog. Maybe he was taking out trash. Maybe I only thought they were footsteps because I was alone in the woods and already on edge. About 10 minutes later, I heard them again, this time on the porch. One board creaked right outside the front door, then another, then silence. I got up and looked through the peephole. Nobody. No motion light, no shadow, just the porch railing and darkness behind it. That's when I noticed the binder on the table was open. I knew I hadn't left it that way. I'd flipped through it earlier, saw the Wi-Fi password, then closed it. Now it was open to the house rules page. At the top, in all caps, it said, "Do not lock interior doors." I stood there reading that one line for way too long, because there was only one interior door in the whole place. The bedroom. I laughed, but only because I didn't know what else to do. I told myself maybe previous guests had locked themselves out. Maybe it was an old maintenance issue. Maybe there used to be a different doorknob. Still, I carried one of the kitchen chairs into the bedroom and wedged it under the knob. A flimsy move, more for my nerves than actual protection. At 11:15, Daniel sent me a message through the Airbnb app. "Everything good?" I replied. "Yeah, all good. Just settling in," he answered almost immediately. "Good. Some guests get nervous out there at night. It's very quiet. Sounds Carrie." That message bothered me more than it should have. Not what he said. How specific it felt, like he knew I'd heard something. I checked the windows before trying to sleep. The living room window locked. The bathroom window locked. The bedroom window didn't fully catch. It slid down, but I could still force it open about an inch. I shoved my suitcase under it, and then I turned off the lights and lay there listening. At exactly 11:42, 3 soft knocks hit the side of the guest house. Not the front door, the wall behind the bed. 3 evenly spaced taps. I sat up so fast, the chair under the knob scraped. No more knocks followed, no footsteps, nothing. A minute later, my phone buzzed. Another message from Daniel, old pipes. Don't worry, I had not texted him. I stared at the screen, feeling cold spread through my chest. I typed, "I didn't message you." The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, came back. Then, just saying, "People hear things out there and let their imagination run. Get some rest. I didn't answer. I switched from the Airbnb app to my regular messages and sent my location to my sister with, "Staying here tonight, weird vibes. If I don't text in the morning, call me." I almost felt stupid sending it. Almo. Street. A little after midnight, I finally drifted off, and then I woke up because the chair was moving, not falling, moving, a slow drag against the floor. I opened my eyes to darkness and held my breath. The chair stopped. I listened so hard my ears hurt. Then came a tiny metal sound from the doorknob, like someone gently testing it from the other side. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam hit the chair braced under the knob. It had shifted about 2 inches. The doorknob twitched again. Not enough to force the door, just enough to tell me someone was there. I said, "Who is it?" No answer. I waited. Then, in a normal voice, Daniel said through the door, "Just checking the leak in the back room. Go back to sleep." For a second, my brain tried to accept that. Host, property issue. Maybe he forgot something. Then I remembered there was no back room, just the bedroom I was in. I didn't say anything. A few seconds later, he spoke again, lower this time. "You don't need the chair." I backed away from the door so quietly I could hear my own pulse. I called Airbnb support first because panic makes people do stupid things. I don't know why I didn't call 911 right away. Maybe because I still wanted there to be an innocent explanation. Maybe because saying it out loud would make it real. The support line put me on hold, actually put me on hold, while I was standing in a locked bedroom in the middle of nowhere with my host outside the door. I hung up and called 911. No signal. I'd had 1 bar earlier. Now nothing. I moved toward the window, holding the phone high, and that's when I noticed something on the dresser I was sure hadn't been there before. A glass of water, set dead center. I hadn't poured it. I hadn't even used a glass. I kept staring at it, trying to think backward, trying to prove to myself I'd missed it earlier. But I knew I hadn't. It was too deliberate, too centered. The kind of placement that says, "I was in here while you weren't paying attention." The doorknob turned harder. The chair jammed and scraped forward. "Open the door," Daniel said. Not loud, not angry, flat, like a person speaking to someone who was making things more difficult than necessary. I shoved the dresser toward the door, then the nightstand. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped my phone twice. He stopped trying the knob after that. Then I heard footsteps move away. For about 30 seconds, there was nothing. Then I heard him walking above me. That guest house was 1 story, but I heard footsteps crossing slowly from one side of the ceiling to the other. I looked up, confused, and saw a square outline in the ceiling near the closet, an attic hatch painted the same color as everything else, easy to miss unless you were staring. Something dragged over it, a soft scrape. Dust sifted down onto the bed, and every part of me locked up. There was someone in the attic space. Or Daniel had access to it from outside, or both. I grabbed my bag, my keys, and went to the bathroom because it was the only room with a solid lock from the inside. I pushed myself in, locked it, and stood on the toilet to check the top of the shower wall, half expecting to see a vent or opening. Instead, I found something worse, a narrow rectangular cut in the ceiling above the shower rod, covered by a vent grill that wasn't connected to any duct. Just open darkness above it. I aimed my phone light through the slats. For a second, I saw insulation. Then I saw the edge of a shoe shift back out of sight. I screamed and stumbled off the toilet so hard I slammed into the sink. The vent grill rattled. Something moved above me again, fast this time, crossing toward the hallway. I unlocked the bathroom and ran back into the bedroom because I couldn't stand being under that ceiling anymore. The front door of the guest house opened. I heard it clearly. Then slow footsteps entered the living room. Not hiding now, just walking around inside my rental. I dialed 911 again while crouched by the bed. 1 bar, then 2. The call went through. I whispered the address from the binder as fast as I could. The dispatcher kept asking if the intruder was armed, if I could safely exit, if I knew the person. I said, "It's the host. He's inside. Please send someone now." Then the line cut out. No goodbye, no confirmation, just silence. Footsteps stopped outside the bedroom. Then a long pause. Then a different voice said softly from the other side of the door, "Please help me." A woman's voice, weak, strained, barely above a whisper. I went completely still. "Please," she said again. "He said you'd help me." I took 1 step toward the door before my brain caught up. I hadn't seen any woman on the property. There was no second car, no sound of anyone else arriving, and the voice sounded wrong, not fake exactly, practiced. Then, underneath it, I heard Daniel breathe out a quiet laugh. That was the moment I stopped hoping there was any misunderstanding. This wasn't a weird host, this was a trap. I didn't answer the woman's voice. I didn't move. The person outside the door waited maybe 15 seconds. Then the floorboards creaked away. I heard the front door close again. For one insane second, I thought maybe he'd given up. Then headlights swept across the crack in the bedroom window. Another vehicle had pulled up. Car doors opened. More than one. I crept to the window and peeled back the curtain an inch. A dark SUV had parked beside my car. Two men got out. Neither looked toward the guest house right away. They moved like they already knew the layout, one heading toward the main house, the other toward the back side of the rental. My mouth went dry. This had happened before. Whatever this was, it had happened before. I stopped thinking about evidence, politeness, refunds, all of it. I only thought about getting out before they opened that bedroom door or dropped through the attic. The window behind the suitcase was still my best chance. I shoved the suitcase aside, forced the sash up, and this time it slid higher than before. Because it had never been broken, it had been left almost latched on purpose. The outside drop was only about 4 feet, but the second I raised the window, I heard footsteps sprinting around the side of the house. They were waiting for that too. I slammed it back down and dragged the bed frame under the attic hatch. Above me, the hatch gave a soft thump. Then another. Someone was testing it from above. I backed to the far wall, holding the only weapon I had, a cheap metal lamp. The hatch shifted a fraction of an inch. Insulation floated down. Then my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Don't make this ugly. Just come out and talk." Another message instantly followed. "You booked under your real name. We know who to call if you disappear." That hit harder than anything else, because it meant this wasn't random. They had my ID from the booking. My plate was outside. They knew I was alone. They probably knew my route, where I was headed next, maybe who I'd texted if they had access to the Wi-Fi or cameras. I turned in a circle, suddenly seeing the room differently. The smoke detector above the dresser, the black digital alarm clock facing the bed, the decorative wall hook by the door. Any of them could have been watching me the whole time. The attic hatch dropped 2 inches. A hand slid through. Just fingertips at first, feeling for leverage. I swung the lamp as hard as I could. It connected with the fingers and the hatch snapped shut as whoever was above cursed and scrambled back. I didn't wait. I pushed the bed fully beneath the window, climbed up, shoved the glass open, and dove out head first into the dark. I hit the ground hard, rolled, lost one shoe, and ran. Someone shouted behind me. A flashlight beam snapped on from the side yard. I sprinted for the trees because the driveway was too open and the SUV blocked the path to my car anyway. Branches tore at my arms. Gravel cut through my sock. I could hear at least 2 people chasing me, one crashing through brush, one staying on the driveway and yelling directions. I kept my phone clenched in my hand, screen dark, terrified the light would give me away. I don't know how long I ran, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 10. Then I saw another house through the trees, farther down the road than I realized, one porch light on, truck in the drive. I ran straight to it and started pounding on the door. I didn't even form words at first, just please, call 911, please. An older man opened with a pistol in one hand and took one look at me, bleeding, filthy, missing a shoe, and pulled me inside. When he stepped onto the porch and pointed the gun toward the road, the flashlights in the trees vanished. The police got there 13 minutes later. I remember the exact number because the neighbor kept repeating it while I shook so hard I couldn't hold the glass of water he gave me. 13 minutes, that's how long I had to stay alive. When officers searched the property, Daniel was gone. So was the SUV. The guest house, though, gave them enough to shut the whole place down. There was an access crawl space above the ceiling with paths worn through the insulation between every room. The fake vent above the shower had fingerprints on it. The attic hatch over the bedroom opened from both sides, and hidden inside the smoke detector over the dresser was a camera pointed directly at the bed. But that wasn't the part that kept me awake afterward. The part that did was what police found in a locked cabinet in the kitchenette. Inside were 6 cell phones, 3 wallets, a small stack of women's IDs, and a printed folder of Airbnb reservation details. Not just mine. Dozens, mostly solo travelers, mostly women, almost all one-night stays. The reviews on the listing had been real, but many were old. The more recent bookings didn't leave reviews at all. According to the detective, that usually meant one of 2 things. Either the stay had been normal and forgettable, or the guest had been pressured afterward not to report anything. But there was one more detail. One officer asked if I'd touched the glass of water on the dresser. I said no. He told me they tested it because there was residue at the bottom. Sedatives. That's when everything snapped into place. The late night circling outside, the messages, the binder rule about not locking interior doors, the fake concern, the noises timed to keep me anxious and awake. They weren't trying to scare me off. They were softening me up, disorienting me, waiting for me to drink the water or open the door on my own. And the woman's voice. The police later found recordings on one of the phones, different phrases, different tones. Please help me. He said you'd help me. Can you open the door? They'd used it before. The detective thought Daniel and whoever worked with him had likely been filming guests for months, maybe longer, maybe blackmail, maybe assault, maybe trafficking. They hadn't figured it all out yet. Daniel never came back, at least not officially. The listing disappeared 2 days later. But a week after I got home, Airbnb refunded me and sent a carefully worded email calling it a serious safety incident under investigation. Attached to that email was a screenshot from their internal case file. I don't think they meant to include it. It showed the thumbnail preview of a video recovered from the hidden camera. The timestamp was from the night I stayed there, and in the thumbnail, I was asleep in bed. But the part that turned my stomach was the corner of the frame, because the attic hatch was already open, just slightly, and someone was looking down at me before I ever heard the first sound. Daniel was never arrested. The property was sold 6 months later. I checked because I couldn't help myself. The new owners renovated the guest house completely. New roof, new walls, new flooring. But they kept the original bedroom door, the one with the lock on the outside. And I know that because the listing photos for the remodeled place accidentally showed it in the background of one picture. Same door, same hardware, different paint. I reported it, obviously. The listing was taken down again. But sometimes I still think about those old reservation printouts in the cabinet. Dozens of names and only 6 phones.